Hi, my name is Lorelle Britt, and I'm a 10-year survivor of domestic violence. It was a situation that I thought I would never be in. You know, I did not grow up that way. I grew up in a very loving home with loving parents and great siblings, but I found myself in a very, very dangerous situation for 3.5 years. I had met this young man. I think he was 2 or 3 years younger than me. And I had met this young man, and he was supposed to be a Christian. We started dating, and it just started with verbal abuse. It started with him calling me out of my name, blaming me for things. Along with the verbal abuse came isolation, where he would separate me from my family. Oh, they don't care about you. They don't love you. You know, I'm the only one that loves you. I'm here for you. Let's build a life together. You know, we became engaged, and the abuse just spiraled. I was punched. I would wake up with bruises on my face, and I'd say, and I'm looking in the mirror and I'm like, how did I get here? What is this? I changed into a whole nother person dealing with my abuser, where I became withdrawn. I didn't see my family as much. He separated me from my friends. I don't like this friend. I don't like that friend. I don't like what you're wearing. That's not Christian. And I was wearing decent, appropriate clothing. He was controlling me. He would spit in my face. He didn't like something, he would just spit in my face. Many times. I can't even think of how many times that I was spit in the face. I had people tell me, you must want to get beat. Who in their right mind wants to get beat? Definitely not me. So as we went through the relationship, we would have ups and downs, whereas they call it the honeymoon stage, where an encounter would happen, and then he would bring the flowers in a candy, or I'm sorry, and I'm sorry, I don't know why I do this, and the making up stage, honeymoon stage, until another encounter would happen. And when you get in this honeymoon stage before the next encounter would happen, you think, okay, he's gonna change, I'm gonna change him. We could make this, we could do this and get this straightened out here. I thought I can change him. But I couldn't change him. And as we were going through the relationship, like I said, we just spiraled down where I was so depressed I could not get out of the bed. I was miserable. The last time that I left him at least 7 times. And the last time that I left him, that was it. I had got to the point where I had had enough, and God gave me enough courage to leave, and because it takes a lot of courage to do this. And when I left, he came after me. I was coming out of my car, was going into my job. He accosted me right there at the entrance. He came from behind some bushes and said, I want to talk to you. Let's get this straight. Let's straighten this out. And I said to him, look, we are over with. I don't want anything to do with you. We are through. We don't have any more relationship. No, you're going to come with me. And he grabbed me by my arm and drugged me to his car. At one point, before we got to the car, he opens up his coat. This was in November of 2008. He opens up his coat and holds up a knife. It's a kitchen knife. And immediately I got scared, because I was like, okay, I'm going to die today. It was scary before, but it was so scary at that moment because he was grabbing for straws. This was the last, resort to try to intimidate me to come back to him. So he put me in the car. We're driving down an area, and we get to this Bay Area. And I said, God, you got to help me to convince him to get rid of this knife. So I said to him, if you really love me, you put that knife in the water. Now, I didn't care about him loving me. I just said that so that he would get rid of the knife. So he takes it and throws it into the water. And I said, now take me back to my job. He said, no, we're going to work this out. I said, you're going to make me get fired today, which he did. So we got on the Sunrise Highway, and he's driving. He doesn't know where he's going. He's aimlessly just wasting time to try to make me come back to him. And I'm talking to him, you're going to make me lose my job. It's over with. Could you bring me back to my job? This is ridiculous. And, arguing with him, trying to convince him to bring me back to my job. Until we get out to a point, I think it was out in Shirley. And we're driving on the back roads. It's kind of woodsy, it's kind of curvy. And it's in a residential area. And I said to him, I got to stop talking to you. And I got to talk to God. I can remember looking up at the interior of his mother's roof in the car. And I screamed, God, get me out of this car. And when I screamed, God, get me out of this car, he had known that God would answer prayers. And I'm not boasting, but he would know when God would answer a prayer, because he would tell me in a relationship, he would see how God answered prayer when I would pray. He said, baby, let's pray for this. Let's pray for that, when we was in a relationship. So when he knew that I prayed, something was going to happen. And it did. 5 minutes into pulling up on this road where we didn't know where we was, 7 to 10 policemen were standing there like they were waiting for me, like 7 to 10 angels, just like saying, Lorelle, we're here to help you. So when I got out, I told the policeman, I says, look, this is my ex-boyfriend. We broke up. Please tell him to leave me alone. Because the policeman asked me, he said, are you okay? Because normally people don't get out at a checkpoint. So I told him, I said, it's my ex-boyfriend. Could you please just let him to leave me alone? And the cop checked his information. You know, he was okay, this and that. So they let him go. So I had my sister who worked in a town not too far from where we were. And she talked to me on the phone. She said, did you tell the cop what you just told me about the knife and everything? I said, no, I didn't. She said, Lorelle, you're going to end up on CNN. You have to tell them what happened. Tell them everything. So I told the cop, he was upset. He was like, why did you tell him while we had him here? We could have, arrested him and everything. I said, God, could you either let them find him, or could you let him surrender himself? The next day he surrendered himself to the precinct or the court, whichever one it was. We went through the court system. I was looking for justice. I did not receive justice. They found him not guilty. But God has the best vengeance. He has the best way to deal with them. Because maybe if they would have found him guilty, I would have, had more problems from him. I thank God I hadn't had any problems from him since I had to get the police involved and so forth. God is so, 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 so good. That's why I serve him. I love him. He delivered me from death that day. I thank God he helped me to forgive my abuser. There was a point where I didn't want to forgive him. So he helped me to forgive. He helped me to forgive because I knew better. I said, I don't want to forgive him. I have a right to hold on to this. And I knew that I did not have the right to have unforgiveness in my heart. And I thank God he gave me the grace to let him go and release him of the wrong that he did to me and just go on with my life. And I thank God. I don't regret it. I don't say, maybe I took too long of a gap to get with somebody else. Take time for you. That's what's important.